Now that we got the multi-port swap done, click the link above if you want to see it. We got to do the timing belt and water pump. Have no idea if this is the original, but it was flopping around. It makes a lot of noise. So we went ahead and got some OEM components to throw on there. Now this water pump has the metal impeller. If you can find it, definitely suggest it. But we're going to get everything taken apart, show you. It's pretty easy. Again, on these Hondas, it's pretty simple. Go ahead and get the driver's side up, take the wheel off, any splash shield down there. You want to get basic access to this area over here. Some models are going to have power steering like this, some don't. Simply just got to probably move the pump out of the way. We'll see if we can work our way around that, but that motor mount definitely has to be moved. And a few other components to get down to that timing belt there. But we'll get the car jacked up, get the coolant drained, and get the tire off. We got the car up in the air, the coolant drained, and the tire off. Also with a few other things. We're going to go over some things now to show you exactly how to get this vehicle into the timing service position to get this belt off. You're going to have to take the motor mount off. If you have any type of power steering system on these, you're going to have to pull that off too. And it's simple. It's a 4-bolt bracket there. As you can see, that's the old motor mount. It's cracked. So now's a good time to go ahead and service it. We've got this probably 15-year-old motor mount with some old polyurethane solid inserts in. We're going to just go ahead and throw that one back in there. And you're going to want to take the top cover of the timing system off here. It's just a couple 10mm bolts right there, there. When you pull it off, you're going to see some markings on here. And it's not going to be in the position it's in now, only if you're lucky, but you see a line there, 2 lines there, and an up mark. That's going to coincide down here with a little notch and a mark, and if you see there, the timing belt has got a set, or the crank pulley's got a set of 2 timing marks and 3 timing marks. Now the 3 timing marks, see that center one's marked in red and the outer one's marked in white. So somebody's been in here before and changed the timing belt, and you can tell because this is an aftermarket timing belt. But it is super loose, and I think it's about a tooth or 2 off from timing. That thing is really, really loose. The cylinder head is aligned, and we got that by looking at the notch down there. There's a little triangle there. You line it up with that line. Those 2 side lines will line up the cylinder head, and that will be up. And then that mark down there should be lined up in that V-notch there. Try to get an angle so we can show you. Should be lined up with that, and it's not. So we're going to leave the cylinder head lined up and pull the crank pulley and everything off. Now, the crank pulley. These things are difficult to get off. We used a 1/2-inch impact and a 17, and it came off no problem. So if you have hand tools, you're going to be in for some serious work. We got the crank pulley off. Do not lose that little keyway there. It goes into the crank pulley to keep, or the crankshaft to keep the pulley in place. We're going to work on getting these timing cover bolts out. There's little 10mm bolts all down the side and up the top here. So just get rid of that plastic cover. Lower timing cover is removed. It was just 4 bolts in there. Then you have the exposed timing system here. There's a little spacer. It has a concavement in it. The lip faces towards you, so you don't want that lip riding in there and digging in. You want it facing up, like the dish part facing up like a bowl. Alright, now you should be able to remove the timing system. No issues. There's a tensioner right there. Loosen that tensioner, it'll drop, and you can slide the timing belt off. Alright, we got the timing belt and water pump off. Timing belt just slides off easily after you remove the tensioner. So we'll try and show you that. A lot of this makes noise. It's going to be really hard to show. Let me get the phone set up. Alright, hopefully this is picking it up good enough, but we'll show you that the tensioner and the water pump were both making noise. And they are aftermarket. It's a GMB pump and some Japanese bearing, but if you listen closely, you'll hear the noise. So that noise, along with this same noise, that water pump and tensioner was very loud. Now the water pump is not loose in the impeller, but it was leaking a little bit from the gasket because they applied a little bit of RTV. It's not too bad. I'm going to have to clean it up. You are not supposed to use any sealant with these Honda water pumps. If they have an O-ring, no sealant. So we got to get this entire area cleaned up underneath here and all in there. And then we'll go back together with the timing system. Alright, we got the water pump area housing clean. The mating surface as clean as we're going to get it. This is a dry install. Rubber O-ring, no sealant. It's an OEM metal water pump. Should last another 300,000 miles. It's original Ace in Japan. We'll get this fitted on there with the 10mm bolts and get it snugged up. Alright, we got everything put back together and in time except for the timing belt now. We're going to show you some marks on here, again, that are going to indicate whether or not you're in time. It's a little hard to tell, but we'll try and zoom in. If you see that line there, it lines up with that little notch there. These lines are again in line with the cylinder head, and then you have up. Come down to the crankshaft, and Honda was kind enough to leave a little arrow. It's kind of hard to see in the video, but you get a little arrow right there. When this keyway here is at 12 o'clock, there's a little, trying to get some light in it, there we go. There's a little line. It's really hard to see, but there's a little line in between those two teeth there. That little line lines up with that arrow tip. That's at 12 o'clock. That little line's lined up with that arrow. And your cam gear is lined up in all the spots up here. The engine is in time, and you can slap the timing belt back on. And that's what we're going to do. Once you got the timing belt installed, it is very important to put the crank pulley back on. Well, first double check all your timing marks, then put the crank pulley back on, tighten it down because you have to rotate this engine counterclockwise about a quarter turn. That's going to put the proper tension on this belt on both sides and take up the slack. You got a little bit on the back side here, and it's going to be really tight here on the front. The other belt was just flapping around. That's the auto tensioner right there. You only got to back that bolt out right there about 2-3 turns. Once you put the engine counterclockwise about a quarter turn, got to lock that bolt back down, and then rotate the engine by hand 3 or 4 times and make sure it's good. We got the motor mount back in. We're going to go ahead and just start it up. We filled it with coolant, and hopefully it doesn't explode. Alright, we're going to start it up. It's running good. Alright, we let it warm up. The fan came on twice, so we know that the coolant is circulated. We made sure there was no leaks. Leaks on the floor are from spilling coolant, but there's no water pump leak, anything like that. The belt looks good. Now we just got to get everything back together, and we'll adjust the ignition timing when we're done. Alright, everything's back together. It's running smooth. That rattling noise is still kind of there. It may be the alternator or the power steering pump, who knows. But I know the timing belt and the water pump now are good. We're going to have to set ignition timing. It's hard on this engine because there's no RPM gauge. But the book says that it should be between 16 and 20. We're going to put it towards 20 and get some more timing out of it because we have some mods on it. I think we can squeeze it out. You have to jump off on the passenger side here. The little plug. It's the brown and green wires. Back probe them or however you want to jump them off. The car will go into timing mode and get stumbly for a second and then pick back up. And then you want to have a timing light set up and at least have the engine warmed up. The fan turns on twice. You don't want to do it with any accessories on, but we'll show you how we got ours set. We set our timing gun for 20 on the advance here. Some guns don't have this, but it's a nice option to have this because I couldn't really see the red timing mark, but the white one I could see, so that's how I'm timing it. And let's see if we can't get down there somewhere. It's gonna be really hard. It's super hard to get on there, but we're gonna move it so you can see it. Maybe you can see the timing mark move, not sure. But either way, we can tell and see that it's set to 20 degrees. That's how you gotta set it. We're gonna go take it for a test drive. Maybe we have to adjust the valves next, not sure. They might be a little noisy, who knows. But we'll get everything set up, go out for a test drive, come back and talk about how it runs. Took it for a long test drive and it ran beautifully. Everything sounds good. Sounds like a sewing machine. All that crazy slop is out of the belt now. The exhaust note sounds great. That about wraps it up. So we'll get on to cleaning the interior, rebuilding the interior, and possibly adjusting these valves again. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.